So this week we're going to take a break from the Rat Rod project and we're going to dive into some work on my favorite car. Behind me is my 1965 Cadillac Hearse, and today, and for this video, we're going to go ahead and rebuild the front suspension with air ride suspension because we have some seriously worn out parts up front. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little walk around some of the things we're going to do, and then we'll do some time lapses. So under the hood we have a 429 cubic inch Cadillac big block engine, and I built a custom set of headers for this thing, and they dive in through the inner fender well and out into a really nice side pipe. Anyway, pretty cool. And if you look inside, this particular vehicle is set up with a really neat feature. I converted it to a 5-speed manual transmission, a Tremec transmission, and we've got Dakota Digital instrument cluster there, custom steering wheel, nice clutch pedal and brake pedal. And what we're going to really be having fun with today is the front suspension. So at some point in this vehicle's life it was lowered. I'm guessing either cut or heated front coil springs was what was done to lower the front. And this worked for a lot of years, but unfortunately, as with everything that gets really old, parts wear out. As you can see, the upper control arm bushings are completely gone on this passenger side. Both sides were down into the metal. So I want to redo the front suspension. Now I could go back to a factory style suspension system, but given the weight of this vehicle, that's probably going to wear out way too quickly. So instead, I've decided to go with an air ride suspension system. Now this air ride suspension system consists of brand new upper control arms, shock relocation mounts, airbag cups, shocks, and lower control arm systems. Now the really nice thing about this new kit is it's way heavier duty than the factory parts, and the cool added bonus of putting this suspension on it is eventually I will be able to lower the car right to the ground. Now, I'm going to do this suspension system in 3 stages. Today's video and this week's video is going to be about stage 1. So I'm going to convert to the new upper and lower control arms and the bags and get all this front suspension stuff done. And then later on, I'll do a rear suspension system for it. And once the rear suspension is done, which will probably be a triangulated 4-bar system, then I can put in an air management system, probably hidden in the back of the vehicle, underneath the floorboards. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and start taking this thing apart and see how this new suspension kit works. Okay, so we've officially got all the old front suspension out. And as you can see, all that I'm keeping is the spindle and steering linkages. And then out of that entire front suspension, these items here, these 3 bolts, that washer, and that alignment collar are the only items I'm keeping from the old suspension. Those and the spindles and brakes. So under here we had to do a little bit of modification. So you can kind of see I cut a section out around here on both sides and welded it, and I did that because that creates clearance for the new bags so that they won't rub on the original spring pocket. So now that that is all cleaned and painted and ready to go, and everything's out of the way and all the old parts are gone, we can start putting the new pieces back in place. Now, just as a little bit of a comparison, this is the old suspension. So as you can see, the ball joints are completely shot. Bushings on the inside are totally shot, completely chewed out. These ones are cracked out for the upper control arm. This is the driver's side. And then here on the passenger side, completely gone. Nothing left. There were also missing bolts. There was a missing bolt here. And of the 2 cross rods, one of them, as you can see, is severely bent. That definitely shouldn't be that way. So all that stuff really needed to be dealt with and repaired. And now that we've taken all the old parts out, we can go ahead and install our new front suspension kit. Upper control arms, bags and shocks, and lower control arms. So let's dive into a couple more time lapses while we install all the front suspension parts. All right, let's talk about all the little things we got up to get this front suspension in. So, up top, you can see that shock relocation bracket is really nice and kind of fits in tight there along the frame rail. You can see I've got the air hose for this side running up and over and then down into a nice bulkhead, a rubber insulated bulkhead here. And then over on the passenger side, we had a little bit of a clearance issue initially between the shock and the oil filter. As you can see, it's really tight right there. I had a longer oil filter, but it wouldn't fit with shock. And it turns out I had an oil filter off of a later Cadillac 500 lying around, brand new one, and it was shorter and it clears. So super excited about that. And as you can see, the wheel is on this passenger side. And there's another good look at the clearance there on the oil filter to the shock. And since we're a little bit closer to the headers on this side to the airline, I went ahead and put a piece of rubber hose over the top of the airline just to give us some added heat protection. And while I was in here doing this, I ended up having to build a new lower alternator mount bracket because the one that was on there had a crack in it, and so I rebuilt that, and there was also a crack on this upper alternator bracket that I had to repair. So now that's all good. We've got the clearance correct for the shocks. Everything's assembled on this side and adjusted, and I did a basic alignment adjustment. Eventually I'll have to go ahead and have an alignment shop double check it, but we're all real close. And then I left the tire off on this side so you can see all the suspension components. And the upper control arm, the bag, the lower control arm. And as you can see, there's currently no air in the bag, it's just hanging. Those front control arm mounts, shock clearances. I also had to do another little modification in here. You'll have noticed it on the time lapse. The sway bar was the incorrect length, so I went ahead and chopped some heavy gauge solid stock rod and chopped the sway bar and re-welded it really nice and cleaned it up. And now both sides of the sway bar operate correctly and have the right geometry, so we should be good. And overall, I have to say this is just a really great kit. It went together super nice. Only a few modifications had to be done, and I think it's going to turn out really well. So at this point, I just got to go ahead and put the tire back on this side, and I've got to mount the air valves to the underside of the dashboard, and then we'll put some air in it and see what happens. So now everything's all wrapped back up again on the 65 Cadillac Hearse, and it took a little bit more than what you saw on the time lapses. There was actually a bit of an issue with one of the bags when I was airing them up to check. I had a bag rupture on me, which taught me a couple lessons. Firstly, I had the wrong bag for my application. Secondly, I had it in too much air when I was checking for leaks. Now, that was a dumb choice because I ended up causing a little bit of hearing damage, which fortunately after a little bit of time has gone away. But lesson learned here, do not air up bags when the suspension is drooped. Do not overfill the bags, and make sure you have the right bag for the application. Now, after that initial bag failure on one side, I decided to try a triple bellow bag for clearance purposes and more action, and that ended up creating a different problem. There was too much arch in the bag as it expanded, which created interferences with the chassis around the spring cup. So eventually I took that bag out and I put another bag in, which is a heavy duty bag that's a double bellow, and I ended up having to clearance the shock or coil tower pocket a little bit more to clearance the new bags. I also had another modification that I chose to do, which was to rebuild my transmission cross member, because after everything was all said and done, the transmission was kind of leaning a little bit below the chassis, and I didn't like that. So I rebuilt my cross member and moved the transmission and engine up to create more ground clearance. And I also went ahead and modified the floorboard to create some clearance for that as well. And then I did one more important thing. I created a bump stop set so that when the vehicle comes all the way down, as you just saw in the most recent video just prior to this one, that allows it to come down on the bump stops and not be able to hit the frame onto the pavement. So even if I did have a bag failure in the future, I would still have ground clearance. So all said and done, I learned a lot of things on this particular build, and at the end of the day, it's got nice front suspension, and like I said at the beginning of the video, later on I'm going to go ahead and do a triangulated 4-bar rear suspension for it, and I'll go ahead and set up an air management system for it at that time. As you know, cars are expensive, projects are expensive, so I have to do this in a few stages. So at this point, I'm kind of together with it for now, and then in the future we'll dive into some more work on the suspension. I'm actually planning on switching things up this fall, and into the winter I want to do paint and body work on this particular vehicle. So for now I'm going to go back to the regular scheduled programming with the rat rod and a few other projects I've got, but down the road I'm going to go ahead and do the paint and body work on this, which I think is going to be really cool, and we'll go ahead and finish up that air ride system and the air suspension at that time as well. So thanks for sticking around, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.